Hosted by you/character_guest4227. My 45F daughter, 15F, suffers from severe social anxiety. It is incredibly crippling and has prevented her from participating in many extracurriculars and even affected her education over the years. I left my job 5 years ago to start homeschooling her and have since put her in therapy. The therapist and I have been working on getting her back into school more and more for the past year and a half. This is all to say, I am not trying to shame my daughter for her social anxiety at all. It is a debilitating thing to live with, and I can see that firsthand. Last month, the therapist recommended getting a service dog for my daughter to help her navigate public settings better. Despite thinking this was a huge responsibility, I saw the excitement on my daughter's face. She really wanted a dog and seemed determined to continue her progress with the help of an animal. I was initially on board with this and started the necessary research. However, a few weeks ago, I left my daughter with my sister-in-law for a few days because my mother was sick, and I needed to visit her a few hours away, while my husband was on a work trip. The plan was for my sister-in-law to continue homeschooling her for as many hours as she could manage, but instead, I got a call from her 2 days in, demanding that I take my daughter back home. I found out that my sister-in-law had to leave the house for a few hours and asked my daughter to take care of her senior dog. This dog is very old and small, and she was adopted just over a year ago, so she's still a bit wary of people. My daughter, in an attempt to recreate some ridiculous online video, took the senior dog to the roof of the house and left her there. The poor thing was so scared she defecated on the roof, shaking, while my daughter filmed. Of course, this didn't go as planned, and the dog ended up falling off the roof and into the swimming pool, out of sheer luck. However, due to her age and size, the dog ended up breaking a few ribs in her paw. When I heard this, I was absolutely livid. I confronted my daughter immediately, and she admitted to wanting to recreate a video she saw online. She then proceeded to defend herself by saying something along the lines of, "That dog is old. If it were younger, nothing would have happened." She also mentioned that she didn't really think what she did was that bad because it's an unloved sheltered dog with no real value like a service dog or newborn puppy. I was very upset to hear these words coming out of my daughter's mouth. I have no idea where she learned this from, considering neither my husband nor I share these beliefs. I immediately told my daughter that she would not be getting a service dog. I also told her that she would have to pay her aunt's vet bill, no matter what it took. Since the bill is in the thousands, she will have to find a way to make that money. My daughter got upset and said I was being unfair because she can't get a job due to her social anxiety, but I told her she should have thought about that before doing what she did. Since then, my daughter has been trying to find a part-time job that requires minimal face-to-face interaction. Despite my husband and me helping her, the only job she was able to find was as a waitress. I asked my sister-in-law if she would be okay with my daughter working off the vet bill instead, but she refused, saying she had no interest in having my daughter anywhere near her house or dog again. Honestly, I thought that was fair enough, so I told my daughter she had to find a way to stick with this job because the vet bill was her responsibility alone. My husband told me I might be the jerk for suggesting our daughter pay off the entire bill and that we should probably just restrict her pocket money until the bill is paid off. I think that's not a good enough punishment because her pocket money isn't earned, it's what my husband and I give her for free time at the start of the week. Also, this bill is entirely her fault and, therefore, her responsibility. It's unfortunate that the only jobs available are in customer service, but what else can we do? My daughter's therapist also reached out, saying she thinks it was wrong of me to completely take the service dog idea off the table, considering it is a medical necessity. She also pointed out that suddenly forcing my daughter into an unfamiliar job may be a bit too daunting. Are my husband and my daughter's therapist right? Am I being too harsh on my daughter? Commenter. The problem is that you're coddling her so much. I have severe social anxiety, crippling even, throwing up, crying, tremors, panic attacks, all that jazz. It almost ruined my university career. It actually did mess me up big time when I was getting my master's. And you know what helped me? Being forced into uncomfortable situations, like getting a job. I'm tired of people saying that the only solutions are meds and therapy and living in a safe bubble. If your daughter isn't pushed out of her comfort zone, you'll have not only a little animal abuser but also someone who will be unable to function in society. And you won't be there forever to hold her hand. Ops response. What makes you think we aren't trying to put her into uncomfortable situations? My original post says we're working on getting her into school. The plan was to have her in college full-time. I also didn't raise her to be an animal abuser. I'm also getting tired of people comparing mental health issues. That will never be okay. I'm glad that worked for you, but my daughter was practically born with severe social anxiety. By the age of 8, she was wetting herself at school almost every day. She was crying, vomiting, and we were getting calls from teachers almost every day. I'm sorry for what you experienced, but it's not the same for a little girl. Was I supposed to get her a job at 10? We tried forcing her into school. We tried just a few days a week. We even tried leaving her at school and refusing to pick her up when she wet herself or vomited, sending her with spare clothes. This went on for 4 years. It didn't work. You have no idea how hard this has been. Commenter. Not the jerk. I think at this point a new therapist is indicated. Unless the therapist is unaware of the extreme severity of this incident, they are behaving in an unethical way. Maybe your daughter lied to her therapist about the severity of what she did. Ops response. I think this may be the case, yes. Other comments have mentioned this, so I've decided to take her to another therapist who isn't working so closely with us and explain the situation myself. She will also be working with a psychiatrist soon. Update 1 week later. First off, I want to say that although I was warned Reddit could be brutal, you guys did not hold back. Shout out to the person who DM'd me, telling me to unalive myself and my family. I want everyone to know that I read almost every single comment, even if I didn't reply to all of them. To clarify, when I mentioned a service animal, I was referring to what I was initially told, a dog that could alert my daughter to panic attacks and help calm her down. However, after speaking to other resources, I now understand that what the therapist was actually talking about was an ESA, emotional support animal. Apologies for any confusion, this is all new to me. And yes, where we live in America, psychologists can prescribe simple anxiety meds. Also, yes, I obviously took away my daughter's phone and laptop after this incident. She's only allowed access to what she needs to complete her studies. Now, onto the update. There was a lot of helpful advice and support, so I feel like I owe you all an update. My husband and I have been fighting for weeks about how to handle this situation. We did end up taking her to a psychiatrist, and she was diagnosed with severe social anxiety, as before, and also bipolar disorder. We were told the reason she wasn't diagnosed earlier is that she was too young at the time, and this is something that likely only became apparent recently, as she just hit puberty. So no, my daughter is not a sociopath, sorry to disappoint. And yes, we were told to continue homeschooling, as it's too late to put her in a school where everyone has already formed their own friendship groups, etc. Once again, I had to leave to care for my sick mother, which left my daughter with my husband. Apparently, while I was gone, my husband thought it was a genius idea to show up at my sister-in-law's house and ask if my daughter could see the dog under supervision. My sister-in-law didn't agree but was coerced by my husband. This is what I'm assuming, because despite what my husband says, I don't believe she would have been on board with this. My daughter started crying and apologizing, claiming she felt so sad seeing the broken senior pup, who was now too scared to come close to her. My husband has since decided that, in light of this situation, my daughter deserves her emotional support animal. I completely disagree with this stance and believe she needs more support, therapy, and a wide range of resources, not just an animal. Even if my daughter is genuinely sorry, this isn't a mistake that can be easily forgiven in just a month. I still think we should be pushing her to continue with a part-time job, something she's been gradually starting to do. She's been sent home from the restaurant a few times already due to panic attacks and has even complained about vomiting during her breaks. I told her she's welcome to search for other jobs she might find easier, which she has started to do, but it's been almost 3 weeks of working. I've asked her to stick with it for a minimum of 2 months before quitting and finding something else. She's also not allowed to quit unless she comes to me with a concrete plan for paying back the money. My husband told me that he has already started the application process for an emotional support animal. And by application, I mean he has contacted local shelters and begun filling out their forms. I was very angry and asked him to stop, but he argued that he thinks he should take over her care from now on and quit his job while I work instead. I disagree because I've been handling her care for the past 6 years, but apparently, I don't truly understand how sorry she is now. In light of this, I contacted my sister-in-law and told her I thought it would be best if she filed a police report. I want this on record because, as many of you pointed out, they likely won't give my daughter an animal if they find out about this incident. She agreed and filed the report, which was totally heartbreaking for me. It really hurts to have to do something like this to my daughter. My husband found out, and we've been arguing for days. He's incredibly angry, but I'm trying to stick with this. I'm not sure how the next few weeks will pan out, but I will say that I'm incredibly worried about the future. I have no idea what to do or how to get my husband to see my side. This is very concerning, but thank you for listening. And to those of you who gave advice and support, I really, really appreciate it. Commenter. I would not back down from this. That girl does not deserve a dog, and you did the right thing by telling your sister-in-law to file that report. I know that's hard for you, but it was absolutely the correct thing to do. Your husband is being a Disney dad, and in the long run, that's not going to help your daughter at all. Hopefully, real-life consequences will show her just how wrong what she did really is.